Okay, P3 is a bitch. I will admit it. Everyone knows it, and the worst part is that it can go from great to shit and be just about as rewarding as an STD. But the key point here is phasing it from P2. So your anima will return to the source directly corresponds to hold still invader, being the first spec on P3, which is pretty AIDS if you plan on onslaughting. So if it's getting close to the mark where you're meant to be phasing it in, so the HP, then you want to get off, take your crackling off, and wait for it to do magic onslaught, and then you can phase it on any one of the next hits that isn't an anima one. So also you want to make sure that you've got full HP and adrenaline when you go into the phase. Just phased it after a hold still, and I'm jumping down. What you want to do first is you want to take it to the south east corner. You want to debuff and then run in there. Now there's a lot of potential beam spawns, but you want to surge to it and just run along it if the origin of it is not where you've just surged into. It's a bit hard to see, but there's a little coil just to the north there, so you can see it, and that's where the beam's coming out of. You don't want to get stuck in there. So you onslaught, and then you onslaught, you dread nip, and then you Excalibur, and then it'll be Gillinor again. So you cancel that with a D-Breath, escape it, and then you get on the minions, corrupt one of them, combust the other, then get back on Telos, freedom, and then res. Now the next special that he does is a anima cleanse. So you're meant to get into the beam, but you don't want to run into the beam at this angle, because otherwise Telos is just going to take precedent over it. So you run next to it, and then you just poke yourself into it when you're sure that he's not going to do it. A Dren Pot, get off a threshold, and then escape from the next Gillinor give me strength. You want to focus on the beam being to the bar being to the left at the top. Get your hold still done, run away, and if it's on quite a large amount of HP, then you just want to recycle this rotation, but instead of onslaught, when you're in the beam, you just use thresholds. If your P3 does go to shit, then don't panic over it, just reflect or debilitate, and those two things can reduce the damage that the nukes do to you, and killing minions whilst keeping both of you out of the beam moves the bar to the left. Cade if the shit really does hit the fan, but most importantly you want to stay out of the beam and keep Telos out of the beam unless you have an anima cleanse, because being in it causes more of an issue than staying out of it, to be honest. So that's essentially the whole thing with P3. Yeah, moving it to the left drains your prayer and your adren, moving it to the right just nukes the living shit out of you, which is just a mess, as I'm sure you've probably experienced. If you've got any questions about P3, just let me know in the comments.